so many people do shit poorly and it kills you. And I wouldn't think I'd have to do a stream on this, but I feel like I have to, which is the importance of just doing the basic stuff right. So many people I find, and this happens in school too. In school, some people just mail it in, they get B's, they don't really, I know many of you are still students. You're half-assing it. Here's the funny thing. You're accumulating all that debt. You're paying all the money to go to that school, and you're going to end up paying it off for the next decade. And then you're kind of mailing it in. So you're never too good for the basics, Shaquille says, and I agree with that. And I'm going to talk about what I do in a minute, because most of my life is basics. I end up doing a bunch of one-on-ones. So I have a team. They report to me. We have all the standard stuff. We do a team meeting. While we're working from home, we do I'm good. Oh, this is great. All of you feel personally attacked, then I am doing an excellent job. This is about you. How do you feel now? Give me some more to drink. Bob Ross isn't on right now. All right. Yes, Polly, it's about you. Homer Simpson, it's about you too. So you're mailing it in while you're paying all that money. You just have to sit back. Look, I know your class is boring. You hate your professor. You think you know it. It's not a topic you want to ever use again after school, blah, blah, blah. But you're paying all that effing money to kind of half pay attention and then to get a mediocre grade. I get it. I got some bad grades in school too. My GPA at my favorite university I was just bloviating about was 3.2. I did the best. Part of that I can honestly say is there were way smarter people there who kicked my ass. Part of it is I half-assed some things. And so I speak from a direction of knowledge. But I'll tell you what I did learn. Pretty simple thing at school. These are going to be remarkable tips for doing well in college, including your master's program, whatever. Okay, you ready for these? Write them down. Number 1, go to class. Actually, like if I had just slept through less classes, fewer. The technically correct English is if I had slept through fewer classes. If I had slept through fewer classes, I would have done better. Licorice is with me. Second tip, also amazing. Do the homework. And I can hear you saying, but the homework is 5% of my grade, the midterm is 35%, and the final is 60%. Why would I bother to do the homework? Because the homework is how you actually learn the stuff, and cramming all night before the midterm and the final is not how you do it. As Dome King says, every mark counts. And the reason it counts is it makes you better so you can do the test right. So, yeah, and by the way, I see the question widget being popped up. I'm going to answer questions about this topic, and then if we have time, I'll answer questions about other stuff. But you should put your questions in now and go vote on them. There's tons of you here listening to me rant. If you want to control what I rant about, go ask me a damn question. Hint, asking a question on a Q&A stream would be called doing the basics. Voting on somebody else's question on a Q&A stream would be even more basic than that. Even in your Cheeto dust covered, unable to get off the floor while you lay there and stare blankly at your laptop world, you can probably pull this off. Just that much effort. You got this. I have confidence in you. So dust off your finger, lick it clean, and go after that vote button. You can do it. All right, more seriously, I would have done a ton better in school, not by being smarter, but just by going to class and doing the homework all the time. And I didn't learn that Yeah, I'm slow. I admit it. I'm trying to help you until I was like a junior or a senior. And then I did better. And I kept it up in graduate school and I did really well. So do the basics. So what are the basics? Well, same thing with getting a job. A lot of you need to get jobs now. You send me resumes. Licorice, I'm glad you're preparing now. You don't want to be behind. That is excellent. You're going to spend all that money, get the value. Even if somebody else is paying for it, even if you have a rich set of parents and they're going to pay for it, or you got all these scholarships and they're going to pay for it, get the value. Extract the value. It'll pay back the rest of your life. All right. You're looking for a job. Write a solid resume. Like the two we just reviewed were both pretty good. I didn't grade the second resume. It was like an A-. And that's partly because he had already taken some of my advice, but it came into me at an A-. It was a good resume. What a surprise. The 5-head genius in ML can write a good resume. We should not be shocked by this. I'm actually surprised I could make it better. That's fantastic. But if you're going to go for a job, write a solid resume, right? Apply directly. Do a little networking. Find the manager. Go in through the manager, not through recruiting. These are simple tips. Do the basics. Do the legwork, and it will pay off. At interviews, Ritz, you just did a lecture on this to a bunch of people. I think you were talking back to your old graduate school or something. So Ritz is live sports in chat. You inspired this part of my talk, so I want to give you credit and say thank you. And if you don't follow Relive Sports, if sports are ever played again, which could be a long time, he does pirate illegal broadcasts of sports. No, I didn't say that. He somehow broadcasts and comments on sports in a way that works for him. It's probably fine. I don't know, and I'm not commenting. Anyway, follow him if you like sports. He's a fun commentator. So here's the thing. His point was he's been interviewing people. He works at Amazon like I do. He's been interviewing people and finding they just don't answer the damn question. You know, we have a rule. What's Polly upset about? Oh, man. I didn't listen. Anyway, we have a rule. When we talk to our executives, the people above me who actually directly run all of Amazon, we have simple rules. You can use them in an interview. If they ask you a yes or no question, don't answer with an explanation about why it is or isn't some way. Start with yes or no. Are we going to ship Project Food this year? You don't say, well, we've got a good team on it and they're working really hard, blah, blah, blah. You say, unfortunately, no. We do have a good team on it, blah, blah, blah. But you start direct. Make sure in an interview you answer the question. And at the end of the question, again, on the basics, this is about doing the basics right. Answer the question they ask you, and at the end ask, did I answer your question? Did I fully answer your question? That way you make sure whether they love you or hate you, whether they hire you or not, at least you went at the question they ask. I'll say another thing. Research the company a little bit. Don't walk into a company cold knowing nothing about them. That's lazy, and lazy doesn't get you hired. Can you answer with perhaps? Not on a yes or no question. Not generally. If the answer is perhaps, the answer in our context is yes, comma, depending on our ability to X, Y, Z, and that's the perhaps. But basically, if the answer is perhaps, then you're expected to make it a yes. The only time you answer no is if it's not going to happen and you can't fix it. Or yes, but with your assistance getting resource foo. The point is, though, you're always trying to answer directly. Another piece of advice we give people when they're going to go in front of Bezos or one of our leaders, if the answer to the question is a number, state the number. What were our sales of artificial tears, right? Eye drops in the third quarter? You don't blah, blah, blah about eye drop vendors. $3.2 million. That came primarily from vendors A and B or whatever. But answer the question. People screw this up. If you're asked a question, answer it. You can then give all the nuance you want. But if you start with all the nuance, what people conclude is this person's bullshitting me. And then I often find even worse, they never actually get around to saying yes or no. It would be one thing if you said blah, 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 blah. So yes. But most people, by the time they blah, 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 they get lost in their blah, blah, blahing and they never get back to saying yes or no. All right. Now, we'll have a new emote next time around. The new emote next time around will be for the magic loop, which I talk about all the time. But let's assume you have a job or you get a job. What are some of the things I would call the dead basics? Because the first step in the magic loop, which is how to move up in any job and how to be very successful in 5 easy steps. The first step I always kind of gloss over because I'm usually talking about steps 2 through 5. On the first step, I say do your job well. And everybody's like, just do your job well. How do I do that? Well, my actual point is going to be most of every job consists of some sort of repeatable drudgery, including mine, by the way. I meet with the same people every week. I work on the same projects month in and month out. I have to talk about hiring people every week. I have to talk about budgets every week. I have to talk about financial results every week because details require management. And so I end up managing a lot of details, and it's the same every week. Different numbers, different people, different hiring problems, but it's over and over. And as you all know, I have a great job where I rule the world. I work in games. I have fun. I love my job. So how can I love my job when a lot of it's the same? Well, one reason I love my job, even though a lot of it's the same, is because doing that same stuff well is what puts me in position to do the rare stuff when I get the chance. So some of you know Liger is here. I'm sure he's still here because he's in a 4-day break between saving the lives of COVID patients. And he and I were talking about this. So he's an MD who's seeking his PhD, and he also is a big, tall guy, and he liked to punch people in the head. So he was, past tense, an MMA fighter. And he decided that to save his big brain, he would stop getting hit in it. And so he gave up MMA fighting. But this analogy made sense to him. There's a key moment in any fight, particularly if you're going to win it, where your training and your conditioning put you in a place where you can see the hole in your opponent's defenses, and you have the conditioning, strength, and timing to punch him in the head rather than getting punched in the head. But what gets you to that point in time? Because that point in time is that quick. See, react. What gets you there? It's all the weeks and months in the gym and in the ring getting fit enough and learning to fight well enough that when the key moment comes, you have the skill and the ability to execute it. And so jumping rope, running, lifting weights, hitting a heavy bag, none of those is rocket science or that exciting, but they are, for the fighter, those are doing the basics well. So in a job, oh, good. Getting over your flinch reflex. Yes, I don't like to get hit in the head. I play hockey. I like to hit in the head, but only occasionally. Yeah. So Live Sports works at Amazon, as I said. So he knows all about the weekly business review, and it's weekly, and we do them every week in depth. So The point is, in any job, there's all this stuff you do in order to get yourself in position for the killing blow. And by the way, the same is true for gamers. All you headshot artists, you spend all the time playing and practicing so that in the key match, you can do the 360 no-scope kill because you've honed your talent to where you have the ability to pull that move off. And it's all about putting in the right practice to be able to pull off that move when it's your turn. So doing stuff in work is the same. How can I make that concrete? Well, let me talk about it. Number one, here's a really simple one. This is almost as simple as my do the homework, go to class. If you have a job, please show up. Please don't make me hold up meetings for you. Please don't make your boss or your peers wait around for you because you couldn't be bothered to drag your ass into the office or get on the now conference call on time. 5-head again, I know. No one is your nanny. I'm certainly not going to be your nanny. And so just show up. And you know what? As much as you're an idiot and not that good, maybe, the person who shows up later than you will look worse. I'm giving you super easy tips. Be there on time. The sucker who's late looks late. All right, let's go slightly more advanced than simply get out of bed and be there. Here's a big flash. Do what you say you're going to do. If you pick up something for your team, if you say, yes, I'll get that report done by noon. Yes, I will send an email to Sarah about Project Bob. Actually do it. Do it on time. If you commit to a date, I will have the new UI finished by Wednesday. I will have the code module done by next Tuesday. I will have the legal brief ready for the client meeting. Don't miss. Unreliability isn't forgiven. Crappy work is forgiven better than unreliable. If it's not too crappy. Honest mistakes are forgiven all the time. Hit your dates. If you are going to miss something, give people a heads up. Don't tell me at 5 minutes to the meeting with the client, oh, I didn't get the brief done. Tell me the night before so I can scramble, delay the meeting, something. Okay, second thing, really hard for Twitch folks. Really hard for gamers because it's not what you're trained. Okay, League of Legends trains you to do the exact opposite of this. By the way, one of my editors found out something funny. There's a lot of people who help me edit these for YouTube. He went and looked through all my VODs while he was editing, and he realized anytime I wasn't talking, it's because I was drinking. So he could tell how many drinks I took by how often there was dead air on the mic. But it's good. Hey, somebody says very good relationship advice too. Yes, well, that's a good point. Treat your job like your date is probably pretty good advice. I haven't thought it all the way through, but buying your job dinner, not a bad idea. I've talked about the power of bribery before, bringing in donuts. It's not a bad idea. Don't be late. Bring flowers. Actually, the next part I was going to talk about is perfect dating advice as well as job advice. My next bullet over here says be positive. And that's the thing gamers struggle with. They love to be critics. They love to be negative. They love to point out the flaws and the issues and find the exploits and bag on shit. And in a word, they're toxic. And as Paulie says, don't tilt. That's right. I don't want to work with a bunch of tilted people. You know, a lot of you watch my good friend Devin and he gets tilted. That's cool on stream. When I rant here, it's cool. If I rant at my employees, they quit. Okay, so that's why I do it here, because you guys can quit, but I don't care. And I know you won't because you like the abuse, which is kind of our sick relationship. But it turns out my employees aren't all that way. A few of them are. They're excellent. But the rest of them, they actually want me to be positive. But the point is, if you're an employee, show up, do the work, try to be positive. Now, let me point out, if you can't be positive, shut the F up. And that doesn't mean, by the way, you can never raise a problem. If there's a problem, you can still be positive about it and say, look, I'm very excited about Project Foo. I think it has some challenges. Important. Here's what I suggest. Okay? Offer a solution. So don't just raise the problem and complain. Offer a solution. And the last point is, yeah, you do got to stop arguing with the negative people at work. Go deliver something yourself, November. Go do your own thing and deliver things. Don't get into an argument. People love to say the equivalent of someone should do something. And so if you want a rant from me, someone should do something is pull apart the language, right? Pull it apart. What it says is, anyone not me, because someone else should do, I don't know, but make my life better. So I want you to fix my shit. That is not why I'm paying you. I'm paying for you to fix my shit. That's why I get to pay you. That's what you do. And if you don't do that, interesting side note, I'll pay someone who does. Okay? Pretty simple equation, particularly in hard times. A lot of you work at companies or will work at companies who have the luxury of all the time now thinking to themselves, who is my lame person who's a pain in my ass? If I fire that person, there's 10 people waiting in line for their job. I'm not saying live in fear. I'm saying be aware that managers are going into a period for the next 2 or 3 years where they can think, hey, if you're not helping me, doesn't mean you never raise a problem, doesn't mean you never surface a complaint. But if you do it in a way where you're not helping or not on board or not trying to be useful, you just want to gripe, I'm going to do, this isn't me really speaking for Amazon, but I, as this theoretical boss, am going to do a layoff in 2 weeks, and I'm busy deciding whose names go on it. You're right there. Right? It's the fastest way. Okay? There is real truth to the fact that managers who can't stand confrontation and aren't good at giving performance feedback secretly love layoffs because it's their chance to get rid of everyone they don't like or don't think is doing well without having to ever tell them why or going through trying to help them. So all of you work at like big companies or government that think your jobs are safe. I was reading today how they're going to furlough a bunch of people in the U.S. at city and state governments. And some of you may have a job at some city or state government and think like, yeah, man, I'm in for life. I'm in the union. Here's to you. New icon, new emote. Cheers. Yeah. All right. So I told you all I was fired up today. So look, bottom line is you want to succeed at work. It turns out I have employees, you have employees, that there are employees in your company around you that just won't show up and basically do the work with a smile on your face. Here's the key I want you to understand. If you're going to clip one thing, if you're going to soundbite one thing, you can already put yourself head and shoulders around everyone else without working harder, without being smarter, by just doing your job with a smile, because there's some jackass in the cube next to you or in the Brady Bunch square next to you who isn't doing that. And yeah, maybe you're going to tell me that person's great at sucking up to the boss and the boss is biased. Fine. Come back on Cinco de Mayo and we'll do the show on office politics and we'll talk about that. But otherwise, we will clip when you sound less educated. Yes. And I appreciate that, G-Ball. That is at least honest truthfulness. That's another thing. Tell the truth. Don't get caught lying. But that's next level. Just do the basics and you'll be ahead. How many of you poll and chat? I don't poll chat much. How many of you work with someone or go to school with someone who can't be bothered to do these simple basics I've discussed? Show up, do what you say you're going to do, try to be vaguely positive, not a total jerk. Tell me in chat how many of you work with or have worked with a bunch of those people. I'm waiting because there's a delay in the stream and I don't see your answers yet. But I will answer. Me. Ha! I like the honesty. Rockstar. That is honest. And, that probably used to be me. I didn't tell this story. I will. At my first job, right when I started, I went in. I was my very first professional job in a real company. I went in, and while I was there, I was working barely 40 hours a week because I thought that's how it worked. Like, you get paid, you work 40 hours, you go home. My boss said something in some meeting about, hey, if you work really late at night, if you really work a lot of overtime, it's okay to come in late the next day or we'll work it out with you. I thought, oh, okay, I heard that. So a few nights later, I was working on something. I stayed all the way till 8 p.m. Real all-nighter, all the way to 8 p.m. About 2 days later, I made sure to bring that up to him. Like, oh, yeah, I worked till 8 p.m. last night, but I don't know. Maybe I'll work short on Friday or whatever. And he looked at me like, really? Boy, kid, you don't get it. I really have to track that guy down and thank him for not kicking my ass out of that company and instead being a little bit patient with me till I figured out, oh, I'm actually here to get something done and add value. And it doesn't really matter how long I work. It matters how valuable I am. He was patient with me for like 3 or 6 months until I figured that out. God, if that guy hadn't been patient and older and pretty much like, oh, I get it, another smart-ass college kid, and been patient with me. So his name was Don Selza, an amazing individual. He tolerated my nonsense until I figured out what work was like, and I'm so lucky. Yeah, another good one. The bird abides. Good feedback is good. I would say that's an advanced skill, though. The bird abides. And I was trying to give people super basics. So, all right, I'm going to switch over, see if we have any questions to answer. Let's see. Does anybody ask any questions? Oh, there's a whole bunch. Here we go. All right. All right. Let's jump into questions. We'll take this first question. If you want to control what I do, there are 130 of you here. No question has more than 3 votes. For the next 20 minutes or so, I'm a programmable robot. All you have to do to program this robot is ask a question or vote on somebody's question. That is pretty damn simple. So, let's be a robot. How do I keep motivated throughout the semester? I start off strong, but after some time, my motivation and interest wanes. And we'll assume, yep. So, let's see. I don't know your motivation problems, but I guess I would ask, what is causing you? What is causing your motivation to wane? Are you not getting enough sleep? See the article I'm always showing off. Let me see if I can find this real quick. Consider this. HBR, manage your... I can't spell. All right. There's an article from the Harvard Business Review called Manage Your Energy, Not Your Time, that I show all the time. Oh, I'm going to get an ad. Really? I don't want to see your ad. Get out of my way. So go read this article. It's called Manage Your Energy, Not Your Time. If you're getting burnt out, this is a really simple article to read. It's very short, take you 5-10 minutes. Open it up in some other browser window, come back to it in a bit. But it's all about how basically maintaining your energy is more important than time management. And I fully agree with it. I've talked to other places. So you also ask, though, in your question, you say your interest wanes. Are you not interested in whatever you're going to school for? I would say that's super relevant. Is what are you interested in? If you were told to go to school for law school because Papa was a lawyer, or you thought you were going to make a lot of money and you actually hate law, change. You will make more money, believe it or not, and have a much better life doing something you like rather than doing something to get paid. Doing something only for the money, you can do it. You'll end up old, rich, and bitter. And that's not a good trade, particularly when you can be old, rich, and happy. It's a much better trade. And basically everybody, we said this before, Devin and I both rant about this. If you're watching this channel, odds are, not all of you, you're probably white, you're probably male, you're probably in a first world country, and you speak English, and you're probably either college educated or going to college. And even if you're not all of those things, you're probably most of them. So you're going to be rich if you want to be. Get rich doing something fun. Get rich doing something you like. You already have all the advantages. We'll cover the morals of the fact that maybe we as a collective group shouldn't have all the advantages later. That's like a moral question. Yeah. So main squad Asian. Yes. That's right. I said it's not everybody. But I wouldn't say that if your group matches your name, which since I know you, I know it does, you're exactly suffering on the employability or money spectrum. So, look, fact is you're going to do well doing something you love. So if you're not interested, do that. If you're just getting burnt out or worn out, that's do the energy thing. So the last thing, though, is you're going to have to develop some self-discipline. I've told this story before. Someday I'll put a picture up because I'm not afraid to put the picture up. I grew up fat. And now we don't call it fat. We call it obese. We call it weight challenge. But when I grew up, they called me fat for damn sure. I weighed 80 pounds more than I do. Let's see if you can see this. Yeah, so there was no light between my fingers. They were like sausages. So you couldn't have seen the dark. You'd have only seen blobs. And I lost 4 ring sizes. There was that much fat on my fingers. My ring size for my class ring went from a 13 to a 9. Point is, that took discipline. Like sometimes you got to do shit you don't want to do. Yes, K-Vol, you missed the rants. I can rant at you for being late. How do you feel about that? We're in a mood tonight. But I'm glad you're here anyway because I know you can go rewatch the rants. And you're a member of our Discord, so I'll give you a small pass for being late. So the point is, it took discipline to lose the weight 25 years ago and keep it off for 25 years. If you need to go to class, you're going to have to do some of that. All right, next question. People don't have a lot of questions tonight. But I'm going to start. I'm considering founding a startup when I graduate my bioinformatics PhD, but I don't think I have the work ethic. I hear 80 years a week to succeed. My God, if I could work 80 years a week, I'd be retired. Would I be better off joining an early startup? So startup founders typically work really hard. That's true. But I don't know if you have to. Most of the reason startup founders work so hard is because they're trying to do a bunch of jobs they don't know how to do. They have to learn to raise money. They have to learn to manage IT. They have to learn to hire people. They have to learn payroll software, healthcare, all this stuff they've never done. So you have a PhD. Congratulations. Bullshit, more shit, piled higher and deeper. You're all the way in the deep end of the shit pool. Good job. Seriously. You're very smart, obviously. You had the work ethic to somehow get a PhD, but you're worried about the work ethic at a startup. Learning all those different skills is very hard. If you don't have them, I would join a startup and observe them and see if it's for you, because you're going to need money from somewhere. If you're going to quote unquote found a startup, it's going to put you further in debt. You're going to be begging VCs or your friends for money. However, I admit I am conservative. If you have a brilliant idea, if you're Larry and Sergey Brin coming out of Stanford and you have Google in your head, if you're Zuck and you're at Harvard and you have Facebook in your head, sure, found a startup. Remember me when you're a billionaire. You don't even have to give the money to me. Just give it to a charity in my name. That'll be fantastic. But if you're not that, go get some experience is my advice. Let's see. It's a horrible decision I'm really proud of. All right, literally, I see this is your question. It's totally good. I would get some experience and then decide if you've got what it takes to start a startup. I fully admire people who start startups, and I have many startup founder friends, and one day I may found my own again. Or found my own for the first time. I've never been a true founder. But if you don't have those brilliant ideas, the most important thing at a startup is the idea. I usually wouldn't say that, but having the cutting edge idea and then the work ethic to make it real, it takes both. All right. An ointment. I'm glad you love the stream. Thank you. Please follow us. Please join our Discord. Please become a part of the community. I love this drink. And by the way, Sean123, if you weren't here, I'm drinking vodka cranberry based off your High West whiskey bottle. And mods, I have a lot of sweat off this bottle destroying our wood table. If I could request paper towel service, that would be awesome. Because I have a great mod team. They're backing me up. All right, we're going to go on from this one. I would not found a startup right away unless you were sure you knew what you were doing. Figure out your work ethic first, then go do it. I have my fingers in too many pies. Professional development, developing a product, starting a business, a full-time role, side research, and in the end, nothing is getting 100%. How should I navigate this? Well, see the article I just linked about managing your energy, not your time. Thank you. Got it. That can all go. Thank you so much. All right, my wonderful mod team helping me out. We're cleaning up. They are awesome. My mods aren't always here. I have mods all over the world, but the mixology crew is here tonight. We had chicken adobo for dinner made by 40 Pink Dragons. It's my turn to make dinner on Friday, and I'm intimidated, but that's all right. Okay. Let's see. We needed to roll to the next question. Yep. So you've got your fingers in too many pies. You got to prioritize. I do all kinds of streams on priorities about doing the most important thing first. I love that you're doing all these different things. It sounds exciting. At some point, you got to pick. You can't. God, I do a set of slides on this. I quote Steve Jobs. Let me see if I can find this quote. But basically, Steve Jobs says that it's about saying no. That building great products, doing great things. Let me see if I can find this quote real quick. Yeah. All right. We're going to see if we can blow this up. Hang on. Stand by. Bigger. All right. Here we go. Switch view. There we go. Focusing is about saying no. You've got to say no. And when you say no, you piss people off. To Jobs, focus wasn't about willpower. That year, Apple laid off a third of its workforce. He said this 20-some years ago, but he stuck to it. The point is, you've got to say no to some things to be great at some other things. And so that's stack ranking. What do you want to do? What are you passionate about? Licorice, thank you for quoting this as well. People think focus means saying yes to the thing you've got to focus on, but that's not what it means at all. It means saying no to the 100 other good ideas that there are. You have to pick carefully. I'm actually proud of the things we haven't done as the things I have done. Innovation is saying no to 1,000 things. Licorice, thank you for that. That's another version of this same quote, and that is exactly right. And it is the answer to this question we were asked, which is, you have your fingers in too many things. You navigate it by picking some stuff. Jobs is not the only person who said this. Bezos says a version of it. Others do as well. Look, it sucks. Okay, I'll personalize it for a minute. I like to play hockey. You know that. I like to mountain climb. I've recently, because I've been in quarantine, taken up bike riding and running because my wife is a runner. I like to rock climb. I like to climb actual mountains. I sometimes rollerblade. These are just sports. I can't be good at all of them. I ski. I have to pick a couple, or I have to accept that I'm going to be mediocre but have fun at most of them. So I've chosen, when it comes to most sports and activities, I've actually chosen, but this is important, to be mediocre at most of them. I'm a pretty good hockey player. I'm not the best I could be. I'm a decent climber, but I don't aspire to climb Everest or, the Salath Wall in Yosemite or the Eiger North Face. Would it be cool? Sure. And in fact, next Friday, not this Friday, but next Friday, I'm probably going to do a watch party stream on my channel of the movie Meru, which is about climbing. But I've chosen sort of uniform mediocrity so that I can have variety, because sports aren't my main thing. But at work, I've chosen very carefully where I'm going to be a leader and what I'm going to try and be the best at. And I've chosen I'm going to be the best personnel leader. So even though I have a technical background and I can get through solidly on some technology, I am not by any means the strongest technical leader at Amazon. I'm not even close. What I am, though, is really good at motivating and retaining people and getting them to accomplish shit. You need to pick something on this list. Now, if it was you, Monte Carlo, you say you should quit your job. Sure, quit your job. If you're going to do all this other stuff and you can afford to, we've just learned you can work from anywhere. Go live somewhere cheap and do all this other stuff you want to do, or start your business. But you can't do everything at once. So it's about focus. That's my answer to this question. All right, next question. Alaska Gamers, you're new here, but I like your comments. You should join our community, follow us, and come back, because you're right. You can either be jack of all trades or master of one. So I'm jack of a bunch of trades and I'm master of very, very few. So the next question is, what tools do you or your team use to keep track of the basics and keep track of doing them? I'm in the boat of losing track of the basics. All right. So Amazon has this idea called mechanisms. There's basically two ways to get shit done. One of them relies on good intentions. It relies on your memory. It relies on you being smart, you being thorough, you jotting down notes on Post-its. And the idea is it relies on you trying really hard. Trying really hard is nice, but usually fails. Conversely, there is another way to do things, which is to have mechanisms. So what is a mechanism? Ritz, I don't think it's private. If you're still here and you can find on the Amazon internet the definition of a mechanism, I think we can share it. If you're not here, that's fine. But basically a mechanism has three parts. And we modeled our idea of mechanisms after a famous mechanism called the andon cord, which was pioneered in Toyota and is part of the continuous improvement mantra that came out of Japan. And basically, the andon cord said there were these cords that anyone could use to stop the production line in a Toyota facility. And basically, anytime a worker noticed a crappy thing in a car, they would pull the cord and stop the production line, because Toyota did not want a single defect going out the door. And they wanted to emphasize that if a defect was moving down the line, the wrong thing to do was just pass it on and say, well, that tire's flat, but I'm the door guy, and I don't have to worry about flat tires. And then the next guy says, well, that tire's flat, but I'm the paint guy, and I don't have to worry about it because I'm the paint guy, and on and on. They had this andon cord, and it taught everyone, when somebody pulled the andon cord, all the workers rushed to see what was wrong. And the person wasn't punished for stopping the line. They were praised for stopping the defect. So that's where we got the idea of a mechanism. And within Amazon, we have this idea of an andon cord that we implemented with products on the website. And so if a CS representative or anybody else starts seeing a lot of complaints about a particular product, they can pull the andon cord and stop sales of that product until it's investigated. So it's the same idea. We borrowed it. But the point is, we created a mechanism. And then a mechanism, you have to have a mechanism, which is what do you want to do? You have to have the tooling to support it so it doesn't rely on memory or best effort. Pull the cord. Really easy. It's hanging right here. In case of defect, pull the thingy. Everyone can remember that. And then it has to be audited. So it has to have follow-up to fix or improve it. And so you have to have a feedback mechanism to say, is this process we've set up useful and working? So what tools do we use? You heard Ritz mention earlier the weekly business review. So the point is, we schedule a meeting once a week to look at our business in depth. So mechanism number one is an example. What tools do I use to keep track of the basics? We have a meeting every week to look at the business metrics. So part one is we have a meeting. Part two, though, is we bring certain data in, and we call that data a deck. But it's basically an Excel spreadsheet of the business data. Well, we choose what to put in that. And anytime we find something the deck doesn't include that we need, we add it. And then sometimes we remove some shit we're no longer looking at. And that's the audit. But the point is, the second mechanism is we have a standard set of data we look at every week. That way you get used to it and you can say, oh, I know where to look and what's up and what's down and why. And so you not only have the mechanism we're going to look every week. See, you could have a meeting and just have a bunch of people in the room and say, well, tell me about the business. How are we doing? Good or bad? Or you could make it really concrete and look at a spreadsheet full of numbers about it. How many widgets did we ship? How much did we sell them for? How many were returned? How many CS complaints? How many customer service complaints did we get? All of those are making the mechanism more detailed and more reliable. And see, I don't have to think then. The same spreadsheet shows up every week. I do one set of design to decide what to put in that spreadsheet. And then I don't have to remember all those basics. They're already there. Now you would say, well, I don't run a business. I'm an engineer. I run services. Fine. We have a weekly operations review where every week we bring in all the stats on the servers and their loads and their disk I/O and their downtime and on and on and on. And we set up those and we review those every week. So we set up a cadence. I have one-on-ones with my team every week, which makes sure I don't neglect different employees. The point is, and it's not all meetings, by the way. What are some of the things I do that are not meetings? I've shared before, every morning, first thing when I get up, when I'm headed to work, even though now I'm only walking from my bedroom to breakfast downstairs and back to this desk, which I stream here, and then I put my work laptop and I use the same monitors and the same cameras to do my work all day. I use that time to decide what is my most important task for today, and then I make sure I do that. So the point is, by thinking through my most important task and then making sure I do that most important thing, that's not a meeting. That's my personal mechanism to make sure I do one hard thing a day. All right, so let's see. Ritz posted a bunch here. It's a bit lengthy. Let's try. Leadership mechanisms transform a set of inputs to a desired set of outputs through the use of a tool that is adopted and then inspected. Yes, what Live Sports said. Mechanisms are a complete process. In a complete process, you build a tool, drive adoption of the tool, and then inspect the results. So this part of what he said, this is what we do to make sure that we don't forget stuff. The mechanism can be automated reporting. The mechanism can be all kinds of stuff. And I'm always talking about, yes, when I talk about get up in the morning and do the most important thing, as some guy just said, I'm talking about the book Eat the Frog. So I eat the frog first thing in the morning. And that works great. So Live Sports totally gave you the way Amazon thinks about this. This is how we don't lose track of basics. All right. Next question. It's a fun one. Opinion on the waste of time known as sleep in college. Hopefully that's the next one. Yes. All right. God, we used to joke. We used to say sleep is the last refuge of the weak and insecure. But honestly, I would say sleep is fantastic. What I've learned is if you're well rested, you're smarter. I learned to stop studying for tests and instead get a good nap. So I was smarter when I was well rested. So my opinion is get 8 hours of sleep, and pulling all-nighters really doesn't help that much. I'd rather think, why don't you end up pulling all-nighters? It's because you didn't start the project early enough. And you underestimated how long it was going to take you. I did this all the time. I'd F off over the weekend. I'd have a project due Thursday, and about Tuesday I'd get serious about it. And about Wednesday I'd realize, oh shit, I should have started this on Saturday, but I wanted to have fun instead. And then I'd have to do an all-nighter from Wednesday into Thursday to try and get a half-assed job done. Believe me, I sympathize. I'm a role player. Every Friday night, we played a game called Rollmaster. So like an extra geeky, ancient, now decrepit, expired version of D&D for people who like more numbers. We played Rollmaster Friday night and Saturday night, 6 p.m. to 3 a.m., sometimes to 6 a.m., and then we go to breakfast. God, I had so much fun and wonderful friends. But I didn't get, it cost me. And sometimes I needed to skip a game in order to do the work to get better grades. Now, I love playing Rollmaster. So you got to fit things in, but I was not smart about it. So what I'm saying is learn to plan ahead and get started. If you procrastinate, you're going to end up doing all-nighters. All right, the drink is gone, which normally means we're getting near the end of questions. Study after study has shown sleeping for 8 hours a day is the most valuable thing you can do. Yes. And if Liger is still here, he'll also tell you it's your best available defense against coronavirus. If he's not here, he's probably saving people's lives or sleeping himself because he's in Singapore. A small percent of the population a very small percent. You're more likely to be hit by lightning in your life than have this gene. Yeah, most people need sleep. Oh, Real Jessica, I'm glad that you don't need to sleep that much. I also think I could be misjudging you. I recall, though, you're fairly young. It will catch up to you. Don't worry. Just be patient. Okay. Oh, you have that gene. You might. All right. Next question. It's like a whole book on itself. we're going to start the speed run at this point. The drink is gone. We're going to finish by 7:30 Pacific time. Let's start the speed run. It's time. I'm out of school. I worked at a few years and looking to start my own business. Good for you. During my preparation, I realized I spend a ton of time looking for good and reliable resources, both online and offline. Stuff like marketing has a ton of saturated material out there, but it's filled with unreliable or outdated advice. It's my belief that I could somehow come into contact with a modern expert on whatever I'm looking for, but that's often not feasible. Actually, I think it is. So first, if you want marketing advice, go to Devin Nash's channel. He's the marketing guru. Ask him intelligent questions, and he will answer them. Ask him lazy questions, and he'll ban you. You're looking to start your own business. Yeah, so it's networking. Devin and I have done whole shows on networking. You can go see those on how to build a network, but you can absolutely find people who are experts on anything. The key is, if you want marketing advice, don't go ask Guy Kawasaki or someone who's famous and has a book. Go find a marketing person who's very good but not famous, because no one's asking them for advice. If you want advice on technology, fill in the blank on anything. The point here was made with someone saying, if you want to learn to be a better swimmer, you don't ask Michael Phelps, who has people crawling all over him. You go find the bronze medalist from 1996 who's old and forgotten but still knows far more about swimming than you will ever know, and you ask that person. They're happy to help you, probably for free and certainly affordably. So, yeah, that's right. Gary Vee, he's brilliant, but some people are more motivational speakers than advisors. You want to go find the person who likes to coach, not the person who likes to rah-rah. And whatever you do, it's absolutely true. Do not ask some random Amazon VP on Twitch. I can't think of a worse way. Wait a minute. Who's this guy? Literally the only... Yeah. Well, whatever. Anyway, somebody in chat said that. I don't know who. Bottom line is, you can find people to advise you for sure. And it's just a matter of networking. Now, we did a whole show on networking, and I'm not going to recover it here, but you can definitely learn this stuff by networking. Okay, what else we got? We're in speedrun mode, so we're going to the next question. How do you deal with burnout? Higher torque, fatter tires. I don't know. Is that the next question? No. We'll get to the burnout question. Do you favor setting dates for yourself or more indefinite promises? Dates, always dates, accountability. I favor, if it needs to get done soon, I set a date and a deadline and I try and live up to it. If it's something I'm working on generally, like being a nicer person, that has to be aspirational, kissing more babies, whatever. You got to have a plan, though, to work towards it, because indefinite promises really mean just putting it off. I mean, be honest with yourself. If you want to make an indefinite promise, you would have to ask, in what way will this ever be real other than me wishing? Basically, indefinite promises are your way of saying someone should do something. Only what you mean is someday I might do something. Just be honest with yourself. Actually, very few babies seem to have the coronavirus, so you can probably kiss them. I wouldn't necessarily kiss other people. Lots of water. Need the water. Okay. Next question. What other things did you not get at your first professional job out of college, i.e. working till 8 p.m., coming in late the next day? Oh, boy. What else did I not get? I was so harsh. And by harsh, I mean that whole it was the lecture I gave earlier about don't be just negative. I had this saying that I thought defended me. I used to say, well, people say I'm a loose cannon, but they only say that when I'm pointed at them. And it was my way of saying, yeah, sure, I tell people off a lot and I like to tell them how dumb they are and how wrong they are, but I'm right about how dumb and wrong they are, so they should suck it up. They should actually kind of thank me because they are dumb and wrong, and here I am helping them out. Like, hey, peer of mine, you're kind of stupid and that idea is wrong. So anyway, go do something else and stay out of my way. Like, I was a rude asshole. And so I didn't know better. I learned, right? People didn't like me. It was mostly in college I learned people didn't like me for that. But even at work, I shared this story before. I got fired from 2 early jobs, basically for being too much of a critic. And it's important when I say fired, some of you need to hear this. No one ever came and fired me like, hey, you were an asshole, you're fired. Instead, when the company had a downturn, I magically found myself on the list of expendable people. Now, in hindsight, I realized, why was I expendable? Because I was so critical and I wasn't positive and I wasn't helpful and my peers didn't like me. Some of them didn't because I was so critical. So I made myself easy to get rid of. I was good enough at my job that they didn't just flat out fire me. They tolerated me like, well, yeah, he's a complete dick, but he's kind of useful. But as soon as they had to get rid of some people, they're like, him. So that's what I didn't know. Low social skills. League, I'm unfortunately some guy. Yes, I was toxic, Ethan. It's true. Ethan was toxic. League wasn't around. Unfortunately, I predate League, but I would have been a toxic League player. So bottom line is, that's one of the things I didn't get. It's probably the biggest thing I didn't get. Luckily, I was very good at some other stuff, so I got a few chances. So yeah, we're going to move on. We're in the speed run, but I hope you learned from my lesson. I hope you learned from what I said earlier. There's no need to be mean. You can get your point across in a helpful way. You don't need to be mean. Is coding a new basic life skill to have? I said answer yes or no questions with a yes or no. I'm going to go with yes on this one. You don't absolutely have to have it, but having some understanding of how computer internals work is incredibly valuable. So look, just ask yourself, step back, is technology going to go away in the future, or is its importance going to increase? Pretty obvious it's going to increase. Is power going to accumulate to those who can work with technology and understand it, or those who are standing in line at the IT department looking for help about how to deal with the error on their screen or how to install software? Right? The one set of people are victims. The other set of people are going to be the new power class. So do you need to be a software developer? No. But the more you understand about how technology works, the better off you're going to be. It's a new skill like reading, writing, and arithmetic. You don't necessarily have to be, I don't have to be an English major, but I do have to be able to write. So, do you think age makes people think less of your knowledge about a certain subject? This is in chat. Yes, absolutely. If you're young, they think you don't know. If they're old, they think you're irrelevant or not hip. You lose both ways. Your sweet spot is 30 to 40. Older than 40, you're a geezer. You get called boomer. Younger than 30, you get called zoomer. Either way, you lose. So we're an extremely bigoted society, or whatever the right word is for bigoted, biased, whatever. We're an ageist society, and you have to earn your way out of that. So, boomers rise up. There you go. All right. How do you deal with burnout? Seeing that you have stated that you've burned out twice at Amazon and had to step away, what did you do to recover from it and learn? My brain may feel like it's been shot, and sleeping more and doing fun activities still doesn't help as I feel guilty. The days seem blurred together for me nowadays. I don't feel like my usual self. Step 1, go see Dr. K. He's probably better at advising, but I can give you what I did. I disconnected for 3 months in a sabbatical, and that helped me a lot. I was told, I have not done the brain science on this, but I was told it takes 2 weeks of very low activity for your brain to heal. And I have an employee who's on a 3-month leave from a brain injury. Basically, she needs 3 months for her brain to decompress. So I don't know if that's related, but might be. The point being, the brain is slow to heal and it can need lack of stimulus for a while. But what I did is first I took a break, and then second, I made a choice to work on what I enjoyed, not what would advance my career the most. And so I decided to work with Twitch because I knew I would enjoy it, rather than working on the hottest project I could find. If I had done that, I would probably be paid more and be managing a bigger team. But those things just stressed me out. So dealing with burnout, I think, is about finding what you're really passionate about that energizes you, and then guiding your job in that direction. November 5th says mindfulness can help. I think meditation can help. It's a type of brain rest. Again, go see Dr. K about that. Healthy Gamer GG. Healthy Gamer _GG. But electricity here says correctly, more money creates more money problems. There's a biblical verse about this. Oh gosh, what does it say? Someone will find it. It basically says, the rich don't sleep very easy. Their rest is never easy because they're worried about their money. The poor man sleeps well whether his stomach is full or empty. It's something like that. And that's true. Money creates worry, or can. But to solve the burnout problem, go figure out your passions. If you don't know how to do that, use the book, What Color is Your Parachute? Figure out what really satisfies you and guide your job towards that. Now, you may not be able to change like that, but I started guiding my career towards more coaching and teaching, and that's how I came to be on Twitch, is I figured out I love to coach and teach, so come do it on Twitch. All right, next question. Does what college you go to really matter in 2020? Yes, it still does. We were just talking about this. I reviewed a resume at the beginning of the stream. The gentleman had the good fortune to go to MIT. That name has brand cachet. It doesn't mean that going to a college, getting a good education, and going to a non-name brand college, getting a good education, and working hard won't make you whatever you want to be or enable you to be. It will. But someone's lying to you if they tell you Harvard, MIT, Brown, Stanford, etc., the big names don't have value. They're just lying to you. The problem is those names have value. They also have tremendous cost. And so you have to understand, can you get the value out of that cost? You can do very well in life having gone to community college. You can also do very well in life having gone to Harvard. The two are a trade-off. If you can go to Harvard, if you can afford it, go. If you can't, realize that you're going to have to overcome the advantage of that Harvard guy or girl through hard work and ingenuity. But you can. You absolutely can. Yeah, and anyway. All right, what else we got? We're almost out of questions, which is good. I had a big drink and I'm fading here, and I started early this morning. What is your best process or activity to put yourself through? To figure out if you need to make a career change or job change. Oh, I just gave it to you. Read the book, What Color is Your Parachute? Fill out all the worksheets. If that doesn't answer it for you, talk to some of your friends. Ask them what they think you should do. Talk to your parents. Yes, your parents. What do you think I was always gifted at? Look at what gives you joy. I know it sounds shallow, but there's a great saying, find a job that you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Besides being awesome, do I have any other hobbies? I have so many hobbies. What are my hobbies? I mentioned all the outdoor exercisey type stuff. I love hockey, probably most of all, and skiing. So I love kinetic sports. I love travel. That's a hobby. I love discussing, probably my favorite thing is just discussing interesting ideas. One of the things I like about these questions is you guys put me on the spot. The way my interface works here, I don't know what the next question is until I click on it. So it's always like I put myself on the spot in front of 100 of you and more who will hear it on the podcast and whatever. I basically put myself on the spot to answer a question on the fly and try and do well by all of you who are listening. So to me, that's fun because it stimulates my brain. So bottom line, my hobbies are anything that stimulate my body or my brain. Okay, what else we got? How do I face the absurdities of existence? In my case, God. We're going to answer the last question here in a second. What are your thoughts on online programs to learn coding? They're great. Learn some coding. You don't have to go. You want to stay in finance? Sure. You can learn enough technology online if all you want to do is learn about it. And yes, I am excited for a Seattle NHL team. I can watch hockey locally. That will be fantastic. All right. Yes, financial projects do need coding. Furrow Key, thank you for being a longtime sub, by the way. I appreciate you. You're curious about what I meant by cost. What I meant is Harvard and those folks will put you into debt for the rest of your life to get their name. And that's a big cost. So I was literally talking about dollar cost, nothing complicated. If you can't afford that, if you don't have somebody who's going to help you or a bunch of scholarships, you have to ask, honestly, should I pursue a really expensive private college or should I go to my cheap in-state school that's pretty well, kick ass, and go on with my life? We have lots of great employees who went to in-state schools, not private brand name schools. Now, would I suggest still try and go to the best state school, whether that's University of Washington or the Ohio State University or University of Michigan? Sure, go to those. But you can be awesome at a state school. All right. Last question. I have no idea what your experience is in the subject. Me either, because I don't know what the subject is yet. But how would you compare a patent agent with an MS versus someone with a JD? So JD is a legal degree. A patent agent with a master's degree. I don't know. Compare them as what? This question is very hard for me to follow. So I'm not really sure how to answer. Maybe come back and ask me another time. But I'm happy to answer it some other time. And in the meantime, we're going to call that good for questions tonight. Let me see if there's anything else in my rant list I need to cover. Going once, going twice. Did I cover all my advice? Yeah. So, bottom line summary, this is the important takeaway. You can do super well in school and in career just by showing up on time and doing what you say you're going to do. Everything else I talk about in every stream I do, by the way, ideally with a smile on your face. Show up, do what you say you're going to do, try and be nice. That will put you ahead of so many jerks, so many people who don't show up. That will also, to the MMA analogy I gave earlier, will put you in position so that when there's a chance for you to contribute something special, people will like you and listen to you and be interested. That's all you need to do. So, with that in mind, you can be head and shoulders above others. All the other streams I do are about bonus points. They assume that you're showing up, doing your job, and doing it with mostly a smile on your face. Everything else I teach here is about how to level up from that, but I want to level set. If you just do those basics, you'll be fine. Everything else is bonus points. Come back other days and learn about those. So, what are we doing next? I will be back on Tuesday the 5th. It's Cinco de Mayo. Bring your tequila. Bring your Mexican hat if you want. And we will talk about managing office politics because people are always asking me. My coworker is a backstabbing slime. My boss has favorites, blah, 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 all this stuff. Awesome Patel, who was here earlier, at Awesome, is he still here? Awesome prepared that for me. There he is. He prepared it. So we're going to start by a pillage and burn of his resume. And then we're going to run through the slides he put together. And I'm going to talk about managing office politics. So Awesome volunteered to help me prep shows. He's also an editor for some of our videos. I appreciate him and all the crew who support me. It's been a super pleasure talking to all of you tonight. I hope you've enjoyed the show. As always, please join our Discord. You can make suggestions for future shows in our stream suggestions channel. And other than that, I appreciate all the new follows. Please follow the stream if you have not. And beyond that, here is your chance to use our cheers emote. We are out. But as we always sign off every night, good night, thank you, and cheers.